practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or badly, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming, to find out what's inside you, to make your soul grow. Kurt Vonnegut.
You are visiting us at the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library here in downtown Indianapolis. Kurt Vonnegut, after his war service, went to Chicago. He was studying at the University of Chicago, but his wife was pregnant with his son Mark, and so he left the University of Chicago and started working for the Chicago News Bureau. So you can see in his writing that journalist influence. He was from that generation, that post-war generation that had a more satirical look. And that's really important in his timing as a writer, in the release of SlaughterhouseFive, his ability to point out the absurd and his humor, and also his ability to capture something very difficult or poignant in a way that really grabs the reader and pulls the reader in.
World War II veteran, pacifist, satirist, humanist, environmentalist, visual artist, internationally acclaimed writer, and Hoosier, Kurt Vonnegut is one of the most influential American writers and thinkers of the 20th century.
I think he looked at things that people found frightening. I think he looked at things that people found upsetting, and I think he made them easier to deal with. I think he wrote a comedy about World War II. I think he wrote a comedy about heavy weaponry, religion, and the end of the world. I think he could take on subject matters that most people are afraid to discuss and do it in a way that should not have upset people. It did from time to time, but it should not have, and I think it was extremely endearing to a lot of people.
Vonnegut mentioned Indiana in multiple books and in his lectures. He referred to a fictional city called Midland City in one of his works, and that was symbolic of Indianapolis. He often wrote about the values of Indiana and that need for an extended family. He grew up with a very large family, and he loved it. He felt like he had a lot of people to reach out to for support and just general entertainment. And so that is one thing as he went out into the world. He hoped that there would be communities of people. And if you don't have it in your own family, well, you make that community.
My highlight of this entire 60s exhibit is actually this very angry letter that Vonnegut wrote to Look magazine in 1961. As you can see, he declares that Little League Baseball has wrecked the American supper hour. The games are played when most families would ordinarily be eating supper. Supper time was about the last fairly lovely civilized thing to be expected in the day of a family, and Little League Baseball has wrecked it. Here on Cape Cod, at least, the quality of baseball is not improved, while the modesty of the befits childhood and the amiable, sociable peace of the dinner hour have gone. Kurt Vonnegut, Jr. And then, of course, we've got Kurt Vonnegut's typewriter from the 1970s. This is the one we believe he wrote slapstick on. It's one of all of our favorite novels here. It was routinely panned when it came out in 1976. It's going through a bit of a rebirth, thanks to us, I like to believe.
(2019) is the 50th anniversary of the release of Vonnegut's masterpiece, SlaughterhouseFive. Of course, that book is a fiction, but it is partially based on his experience as a soldier during World War II, captured by the Nazis and held underground at the same time as the firebombing by the Allies on the city of Dresden, where he was held. We as an organization are giving away 86,000 copies of the book Slaughterhouse-Five to every Hoosier 10th grade student.
A cultural and educational resource, museum, art gallery, and gathering space for readers, writers, artists, and students, the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library honors Vonnegut and his dual legacies of creativity and civil discourse.